Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dancing Sober podcast, and I want to advise you to please mark your calendars for January 25th. January 25th, we will be celebrating our 100th episode live and in person at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes with some special guests that are not yet announced. So please mark your calendars, January 25th. This is the first time I announce it, so look out for that. Let's give a big shout out to Espacio 1839 for allowing us to do the podcast inside here in their little shop. It's the holidays, so please come in here and shop some stuff for your family and friends. They have anything that you need. Espacio1839.com or in person at 1839 East 1st Street in Boyle Heights. Don't forget to like and to subscribe and keep up with us. You can also now become a member by hitting the join button. For only $4.99 a month, you can help support this podcast, or a little more if you have a little more. Click the join button for more information. Things have been a little scattered, but we trudge forward and we move forward and we continue. So give it up this week for our guest, muralist, artist, Erica Friend. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dancing Sober podcast, and today here in the studio at Espacio 1839, we have all the way from the San Fernando Valley, Erica Friend, yes. Artist, muralist, and animal lover.
Yeah, I do love animals. Too much, I think.
Yeah.
Probably more than humans.
You know, the first time I met you, do you remember?
Yeah, I think you were taking photos at an art show.
Yeah.
And I had Dusty with me, which was my rabbit for like 4 years.
Yeah.
I think he was going everywhere with me, so it was pretty cool to take him with me.
Yeah.
And you have a photo of me holding him.
That photo ended up in my first book, and I'm going to show it here for people that are watching on YouTube.
Oh, man.
I love that picture so much because, like, it felt like you and the bunny were one, you know?
Yeah,
you totally, like, your eyes both looked at the camera, like, with the same intensity and love, and it was just, like, this gorgeous, gorgeous, like, image. Yeah, and rest in peace, Dusty. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
Dusty passed a few years back.
Yeah, I was expecting to have him a few more years, but unfortunately he passed away, and I was so bummed out. I had him for 4 years, and he went with me to art shows, the beach. Like, I had like a little baby with me.
Yeah, he was a homie.
It was, you know, he gotten so used to just coming out with me, so it was pretty fun to just have people just pet him. And just, some people had never seen a rabbit like that calm. Yeah. So it was usually the first thing that I would hear when he come up to me, like, "Oh my God, is that a rabbit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a rabbit." He goes, and then their voice screeches, like, "Oh my God!" And the voices change, and they're like, "I can't believe it's a rabbit. I thought it was the cat." I'm like, "Oh,
just me and my rabbit."
Just me and my rabbit cat thing. But yeah, it was cool. I love that little guy.
So that was cool meeting you that way at La Plaza de la Raza.
Yeah, it was Plaza de la Raza.
Back then, yeah. So on this podcast, we like to start with going way back. I like to say that. So we like to go back to the origin stories of the artist, you know. So where were you born, and tell us a little bit about your young life.
Oh, so I was born in Mission Hills Hospital with my twin sister. So on February 19.
Mission Hills in the Valley?
Yeah, in the Valley. So, I'm still there. I'm still living there.
February 19th is Pisces?
Yeah, Pisces. We pretty much hit the borderline on Pisces right there. Yeah. So just coincidence enough that we were just two twins born on the day of the Pisces. So, but yeah, I was born there, born and raised in San Fernando Valley. I've lived there my whole entire life. It's great. I love the Valley.
How big was your family? I know you're a twin.
Yeah, I have
that itself is like something interesting that not a lot of people get to experience.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, like it's just having that buddy the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And like that, you know, the shoulder to cry and talk to somebody. And I also have an older sister too. Okay. And then both my parents.
Oh, okay, so it's 3 of you and your parents.
Yeah, so it's me, my twin, and my older sister Jennifer. Yeah.
I haven't seen your twin sister in a very long time.
Yeah,
you guys used to vend together, right?
Yeah, usually we would always vend together. It's because, you know, sometimes I wouldn't be able to go or she'll be able to go, and then we just kind of like, well, we might as well just spend them together. Yeah. So, yeah, she's been pretty busy. She's currently just recently just quit her job to help me on projects. So we're gonna start doing it to
So she's your employee now.
Not my employee.
Yes, she is. Just say it.
Don't put
You're the
that.
jefa.
No, she's a second in command. In other words. So I mean, we never had an issue of creating things together. So
Yeah.
but it's gonna be fun.
That's cool. I want to get into that a little bit later. So let's go back a little bit and like tell me what kind of youth did you have in San Fernando Valley? Like, was it like more suburbia or was it more like, rural?
I can't really pinpoint. It's kind of like in between.
Yeah.
Because when you're walking home and you get to the areas that are a little bit more have gangs and stuff like that, we kind of walk a little faster, and then you get through the suburban area and then you're home. So to me, it was just kind of like a really quick run through of 3 different areas. So I was going to Summer High, and I would just walk from Summer High, and I would go through the areas where there's a little bit of gang affiliation right there, and you just kind of speed up a little bit, and then across the street, and then all of a sudden I'm in San Fernando. So I was from San Fernando would be a big jump of atmosphere, but to me it was just a normal walk home. There wasn't anything crazy about it. But
what year were you born in?
1986.
86. Okay.
The year of the tiger.
Is it?
Yeah, the year of the tiger.
So tell me a little bit about being like young Erica in elementary school. Did you start drawing when you were little?
The earliest I can remember drawing was actually before it was like preschool.
Really?
Yeah, I have fond little memories of my dad and us all for like holidays decorating the house with like paper stuff. And that was like around the earliest that I can remember was preschool.
Wow.
Yeah, because I do have little reward papers of like in preschool, like saying the most artistic in class.
What?
And it's me and Carol holding our little papers and stuff like that.
No
So
way.
I don't remember as far back to then, but I do remember like always drawing and always kind of have the creativity to want to like do something different. So that's the furthest I can remember was that far. And then throughout elementary school, it just kind of got more advanced as it went. And I always kind of wanted to just stand out more when I did my artwork too. So while we're doing like paper mache dinosaurs, I'm doing a freaking pterodactyl.
Yeah.
I'm
you kind of do the most detailed.
Yeah, the most detailed, and it was just the most like craziest thing. And teachers kind of noticed it.
Yeah.
And they kind of had a little program for a bit that would get us involved in doing artwork. And I had an elementary school teacher called, her name was Carol Morrison, and she was actually a really positive person for me and Carol because she was also an art teacher that was doing elementary school. And she would bring in things that, like, to do ceramics for. And for elementaries, that was not really, like, a common thing to really get your hands in. So we made little pots. I remember I made a little baseball for my dad for his table, and I spelled Dodgers wrong. And I spelled the Dodgers wrong. I think I forgot.
That's because you weren't paying attention in spelling.
No, I was just so excited to do it for him for Father's Day that I just didn't even notice that there was another D in there, So yeah, it's just stuff like that. And unfortunately, she had passed away, I think, sometime when I was in middle school, because we actually live right across from our elementary school.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like a little highlight when we get to see her come out of class after. But for a while, we just didn't see her. Unfortunately, when people, we get really caught up in our lives that we don't really notice little things like that until I ran into an older teacher. I mentioned it, and he mentioned that she had passed away, and it was really sad. Yeah, because she didn't know then that we were still pushing to do art later on in life. So I hope that, wherever she's at, she could see that she was a very big inspiration between me and my sister to keep doing artwork or keep flourishing in it. Yeah,
growing and experimenting. Did you have the same kind of thing in middle school?
In middle school, it was kind of weird because art kind of just paused for a bit. Yeah, I wasn't doing so much art, maybe just between like class assignments and stuff like that, but there was no deliberate push to become an artist then. So I was just concentrating just getting through middle school. And at the time, I was really into sports. So
what did you play?
I was doing basketball at the time.
That's cool.
Basketball, baseball,
Organized sports teaches a lot to kids. I always say that.
Well, it keeps your grades up, that's for sure, because
Yeah.
you can't go below a C average.
You know, I mean, that team mentality and management is something that goes a long way for people that work in big companies in the future. That's what I see, that a lot of people that played sports thrive in like companies that have like hierarchies, you know, and managers and bosses and winning mentalities.
Yeah.
You know?
It kind of makes sense. I don't know if I had that mentality, but I kind of want to keep striving to have structure when I do things.
Yeah.
So I can see, I can see that playing a part of my life, like making sure I'm on time, keeping up with my grades, you know, being consistent, working out. But I was really into running, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in middle school. I had joined a program called Students Run LA.
Yeah.
And I think
Familiar with that?
I think it's still around.
Yeah, it's very popular.
It was
They do the marathon every year.
I did the marathon, I think, twice. Yeah.
That's something that I've always wanted to do and I never got to do, so I'm very jealous.
I gotta keep that stride up, though.
Yeah.
I did, when I was in my prime, I did 11 miles nonstop, and then my legs could not do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then supposedly there were shuttles, but I never saw the shuttles to take me to the front. So I had to finish the race, so it was just terrible. I think the first marathon I did it rained that day.
Wow.
And then you ran, and then you're just so cold afterwards. But then the sun came out, and it dried up all my clothes, but I was just freezing afterwards.
Wow.
And cramping up. My legs were so sore and cold. Yeah.
It's so weird when your legs turn into like two hunks of metal, and they don't bend, and they don't, they just kind of like thunk, 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 and it's.
I feel like you don't even have kneecaps. You just kind of
It's painful, but like your body just keeps going somehow, right?
Yeah, my whole upper body was ready to go, but my lower body was like, I'm done.
Yeah, I never got to do the marathons, but I did do 2 triathlons because I hurt my ankle, so I couldn't withstand that long run, but I could do the smaller runs and the swimming and the biking.
Nice.
But that's something that I've been also like, I'm 52 now, and I'm like, I need to do another one because I did them at 30. And so I need to do another one. Because that time that I did do it at 30, there was a man that was 80 doing them. And I was like that's inspiration. If nothing else is, you're like, if that dude can do it, like, and you can definitely do it. I wasn't there to win. I didn't place or anything like that, I
don't think anybody should.
Yeah, I was just there to complete it. And so I completed 2 of them, and I'm really excited about the idea of doing it again. So if you're down.
It's fun. You want to go run?
If you're down.
I've been training.
Oh, really?
Well, running-wise again. So a lot of things have been happening in my life the last couple of years that prevented me from training at all. Which kind of like was the weird part about like when you're talking about middle school was I had students from LA in middle school. I stuck with running throughout like, I don't know how many years I did it. But once I went to high school, I jumped sports. I tried to do softball. I was also doing softball. And then I couldn't get into the softball because they had a system where you have to go beforehand and pick it picked. And I came in like when they were doing the picking. So I wasn't ready to go do like the
whole thing again.
The whole thing again. And I decided, well, let me try for soccer. That's right. And so I did soccer, and I also did cross country and track.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was really avid into sports. I actually was not doing anything art related.
What a trip.
I took a couple of art classes for school, but I wasn't like doing it on my own yet,
Yeah.
So I was just actually focusing on just doing sports. That was my thing at the time. Carol was really into artwork though.
Wow.
Yeah, she was taking a lot of art courses, painting and whatever. She was going to college for a bit for other, prerequisites that she could take to get an advanced in going to college. And I was just like, I'm going to go run. Yeah, so I was just mainly just doing sports. And I loved it. It was just my outlet.
Yeah.
Sports, being at school all day. And then after 6th period, start running. After school was soccer. And you go home, you're all exhausted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was cool. But, when I started to, over the years as I went into college, I went to a community college. I also played sports for them.
Where'd you go to?
LABC, Los Angeles Valley College. I also went to Mission College too, because the courses just lined up easier. And the courses started lining up because LABC had more courses, where Mission College had certain courses that at certain times. So because LABC was a bigger campus, I was mainly at LABC a lot. So I played soccer for them. I played cross country and track. And then in the course of those couple of years, I started to get like a lot of injuries from those sports. So
what kind of injuries?
Oh man, soccer. I had a couple people like really like mess up my feet because they stepped on the whole cleat onto my foot.
Ouch.
And it was just always seemed to be the last game that would be the kicking point of something bad would happen. So for my first 2 years at LABC, it was always the last game. Some girl just kicked it or something and was just right on top of my foot, full on like my body on there. And I remember I tried to get up and I would just like do that weird like when you're injured hop and you just kind of go back down again. I'm like nope, I'm not going back up. So but since it would be like towards the end of the semester, you would jump into track after that. So after soccer, that injury I had like the last game, you have a few months before you can go into the next sport. So I went into track, and I noticed that my knee was starting to hurt a lot when I would run, and it was a very uncomfortable pain. And I went to what we had at the time, an athletic trainer. I told him what happened. I told him what happened last game. He goes, "You didn't come back and get it iced and do some physical training?" I'm like, I just thought she just stepped on me. I didn't think to ever go and get physical training. You know, it was just I don't know, just a thing.
Had to go away, yeah.
It's just a high school thing to do. Like you get hurt, you just go home, and you just it goes away. So mine didn't go away. So I ended up going to the doctors, and they told me I had tendonitis in my knees. And I'm like, well, I can explain. Well, that came from all the running at asphalt, track and sports, and they're like, have you stopped any time since you started playing sports? And I told them, no, I have not took a break. And like, I think it's time for you to take a break for your tendons to heal and just to take a break. And then ever since that happened, I was never able to go back into sports.
Wow.
Yeah. So I took a break. I went to school for a bit, and I started working more, and that took over my life practically. So I started working for Home Depot.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That's what you used to do when we first met.
Your
apron was very well decorated, I remember. I don't know why I saw it, or maybe you had it in your basket or in your...
I don't know. Did you come to the Home Depot?
No, I never came to Home Depot, but I did see it once. Oh, maybe on a post, on an Instagram
post. Yeah. Once they figured out I was an artist in Home Depot, you were
doing all the signs.
I was doing a lot of things, and I was their sign maker. I was doing all the Christmas decoration stuff, and for holidays. So when the holidays would come, management was like, we want aprons to match the theme of the year and whatever. And
so is that how like art started to creep back into your life?
I feel like it never really went away. It always kind of made its little face come through, and in that way, doing the sign making at Home Depot kind of just kept me writing, kept me doing little activities and stuff like that. I think I'm trying to remember when I actually started painting again was when I went to LABC. Finally, after they told me I had to take a break. Yeah. And I was like, well, there goes that goes track, because the track was the more painful part, because you're running all the time. Yeah. And when I would start running, I would feel the tendons hurting. I'm just very uncomfortable pain, and so I was just like, I guess I should take a break. Yeah. So I gave myself a year to see how I feel, but then it was really hard to get back into sports because then, like I said, the job took over, and then eventually I just decided to completely put that to the side and try to focus on just going to school and working, because obviously I couldn't go to school because I need to work to keep that up. So, and an expense of how much art supplies cost and stuff like that, books and travel, and it's not like I was living close by LABC either. So it was a lot of just maintaining my job and also just maintaining the time to do school. And and then I never really finished, and that's what kind of almost seems like a waste sometimes. But
it's never a waste.
Yeah, I just
even if you read half of a math book, you learned a lot.
Yeah, I learned enough, I guess, for my.
Yeah, so it's not for I went to school for a long time, but I only took like theater classes. I only did, certain things. And so, everybody takes what they can from it. And sometimes it's just a different experience for everybody. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask, do you have an idea like when you felt like, because at this point you already had a bunch of paintings, right? You already had things that were like, you were already doing shows or?
I think when I started to do more art related shows was even after college.
I'm trying to figure out if you ever had a moment where you were like, okay, I'm just going to be an artist or I can do this as a side gig.
I think it was when, and it's not even related to like vending or anything like that. I did a painting and I had started already going to classes at LABC for like painting, sorry. I was just like, well, let's start taking courses and, all the 101 classes, and I was doing a bunch of different classes. And I obviously, in the end, I didn't know that some courses don't really even line up to graduating. Mm. So I took a good couple of courses that were not even
yeah, it was all for art.
Yeah, it was all for fun
for me. Yeah.
So I was taking ceramics and watercoloring and painting, and I was just going crazy, printing. So I just did a bunch of different. Yeah. Because I wanted to just kind of dip my feet into any type of art to see what I guess I was considered I like to paint at the time, but I kind of wanted to explore a little bit more of what I wanted to do. Ceramics was one of them too.
How did you start the vending thing?
I think I was invited to go, I don't know, it's been so long. It has to be at least over 15 years.
Yeah.
That when I went to do our first event, I didn't have prints. I think I first started off with prints. Mm. And later on became buttons and stickers and stuff like that. But I also just didn't have that much artwork either. So I had to kind of make artwork in order to have prints of that. Yeah. And before that, I was mainly just doing art shows. Mm. So I would just submit my artwork to hang in gallery shows. And if they had themes, I would paint them for the theme. And then...
So you started first then by being a fan and
mostly
submitting into...
Kind of like just seeing pop-ups come or like small little events, and it would have art related. I was doing the downtown art walk for a while. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Somehow I ended up curating a lot of shows, and then it kind of just kept unraveling after that. So it kept me kind of constantly just...
Well, I think you're moving too fast in this. Go back a little bit then. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about, like, how did that come about? How did you start to get involved with the downtown scene, and, what kind of shows did you curate, and how did that develop?
Man, I'm trying to remember how that even developed, how just getting to downtown LA. Because I think we just had heard of the downtown art walk. Yeah. And at the time, I think a building just got cleared out, and there was no artwork or anything in there. I guess somehow a friend of a friend got the location and said, you guys can hang up artwork for the art walk. And we took over this whole entire, practically a bottom of a warehouse looking. And then that's what kind of sparked it, because even then I don't believe I even had prints back then. Yeah. So we just had whatever artwork that we had, and a whole bunch of friends of ours went and we just put them up.
Yeah, like one-of-one paintings.
Yeah, I had maybe 5 paintings at the time. Yeah. And they were very minimal. It was very small, and most of those paintings were from previous art shows that I had. Yeah. And then either they didn't sell, or just I never either gave them away or something like that. It's whatever I had left. So it was pretty cool. We had
Who were the people? Do you remember the people?
Well, obviously my twin, Kara, was there.
No, do you remember the people that got you in? Or no, it doesn't matter.
It was a group of artists that, this story goes back so bad. Before the downtown work, we were part of a
tagging crew.
Not a tagging crew. Not a tagging crew.
I was just guessing, but that face says it all.
Actually, we did tag a couple of times, but it was just a group of
graffiti
artists. Not graffiti.
Or not graffiti, but muralists.
More like just a group of different kind of artists.
Okay.
And we used to do like an art collective where we all just come and paint.
That's cool.
And it was called the Art Jam. Okay. And it was at San's Chicano house. And I didn't go to San. I just happened to, I think, see a post about someone saying, hey, we're going to be bring your art supplies, your whatever canvas you're working on, and come paint with us, a group of people who...
That's cool.
So, yeah, that was, I think, the starting point of, like, just painting with people.
Yeah.
And meeting other artists and stuff like that. But that was, like, 15 years plus ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that long ago.
That's awesome, though. That's such a good part of the story.
Yeah, it's just, there's so many, like, twists and turns in the story of, like, what kind of caused me to kind of go back into doing art.
Yeah.
Because even then, like, I wasn't even a muralist then.
Yeah.
I was just training, just doing art pieces on canvas.
You're painting your little, one by little, but, you know, your canvases,
Yeah, whatever canvases I got. And, you know, I didn't think anything of it, meeting these group of people, but it kind of just changed the atmosphere of, like, there's a lot more artists out there in the valley that are all kind of just trying to do their thing. And that group of artists later on, we all went to Guanajuato to paint a mural over there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was for about a couple of weeks. A group of artists went up there, and
Dude, that's awesome.
yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show, like, what networking can do, you know, just by getting out and just by hanging out with other artists. Because I have people tell me, well, how do you get into a show? How do you do this? Well, you got to get out there. You got to meet people. You got to start talking. People have to know that you're an artist or a photographer.
Yeah, or even just kind of almost saying yes to everything. Getting
you have
little
to
opportunity. I don't like it doing now because I say it too much now.
Yeah, you get to a point where you can't say yes anymore. But in the beginning, it was yes to everything. It was like, I'll be there, yes. Even if you had to spend money to frame something, and, you know, I'll put it up anywhere, anytime, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're going to do a little one-day art show. You want to go put some artwork in it? Yeah.
Yeah, drive 2 hours to hang something to take it back down at night.
There wasn't a lot of art shows happening in the valley.
No, I know.
So coming all the way to LA was just like an adventure because you get to get out, you know, the valley. You get to meet a bunch of people that, you know, you wouldn't see in the valley, and it's a different atmosphere. So
how did all this then lead to muralists?
Well, the trip to Guanajuato.
Oh, really? Guanajuato was your first mural?
It wasn't my first mural. The
other ones were illegal. That was your first legal mural.
That was the first trip-related mural. But the first mural I did was at Silmar High.
Oh, Silmar High. Mm-hmm. Okay,
They were painting a bungalow for a teacher that had been teaching there for a very long time.
Nice.
And she was, I can't remember her name, but she was one of the oldest teachers still teaching in the LA district, and they made a big thing about it.
Nice.
So they did a collaborative between students. Somehow the principal get it okay to paint a mural of her, and Carol was part of it. Carol's painting, and I think I was doing sports at the time, so I wasn't doing any art classes. And she had invited me to go watch her paint. Asked her if I want to, if she needs help, and I told her I would go help her. So that was kind of my first mural. No, not like I was invited to go. Yeah. But, like, I wasn't part of, like, the whole process of designing and stuff, but I still came to help a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. And yeah, I think that was the first mural that I did.
Do you know how many murals you've done now?
Man, I want to say at least over 10.
That's a lot, and they're big. You have some, like,
I have
enormous size murals.
I have a few, and then some of them are very small.
So, like, in San Fernando Valley, do people go like, "Oh, that's Erica"? Oh,
no.
Do you get free breakfast
indoors
at
a lot, so
IHOP or anything like that?
Not honestly, no.
Yeah, because, I mean, I think you're definitely one of the, better known muralists out there right now, right? I mean,
I think so.
One of the most active, too, yeah.
I think the most active at the time.
Yeah.
Especially during COVID, a lot more active.
But the size of your murals are insane. It's so...
that one was pretty big.
Yeah. Tell me about that process. And, if you can a little bit, like, tell us a little bit about, like, what is the process to like get commissioned, you know, and when you finally get it, the process of designing, and let's try to go through that for some of the people.
Okay, well, I guess for the project that you're talking about, the biggest one I've done is the Silmar mural. What I call the Silmar mural is technically A Valley in Time. That's the name of the mural. That one was commissioned through the city, through our Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez. She was the one that asked me if I wanted to design it.
Yeah. What's the length of that? 200 feet?
298, I think.
290 feet, so 300 feet pretty much.
Almost, yeah. It was getting to that close.
And it's about 20 feet high.
You think I would remember this, but
It's about 2 stories high.
it's about 2 stories high. Yeah, it's a pretty big wall. And previous year, I was helping my friend Levi with his wall, and that was bigger.
And Levi he's man out there too. Like,
yeah. So he's got his projects going, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I strive for to try to do is keep my, you know, keep me busy with trying to do back-to-back murals. But that one was for sure very, very stressful towards the end to do. When I was first asked, they didn't really have an idea where the mural was going to be at. They just knew they wanted me to do a mural for them. And they had to give me somewhat of a list of potential walls that they were looking at to get it done, mainly in Van Nuys area. But I guess recently they had a wall there in Silmar, and I'm like, well, of course I'm doing it in Silmar because that's my hometown. And they didn't give me the address until like much later when we were wrapping up to the company that had the wall. We were gonna have a big like a meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm driving, and they're like, yeah, that's the wall right there. And I'm like, oh, man. And I was panicking because I've never done a project this big before. I've helped out on projects that big. But, yeah, I was very nervous. I remember calling Levi, and I was so nervous about that.
Nervous and excited?
Nervous and excited at the same time, but just like, what am I going to put on this wall? It's just a big wall, and it's just when the idea was pushed out was that they wanted to have like a homage to Silmar, of the history of Silmar and just like the key points of Silmar, But the thing is that there's not too much history without it being a disaster-related history, A lot of earthquakes happen, fires happen, so the history of Silmar is very minimal of like key points. But agricultural-wise, we had a bunch of points that I wanted to put across in Silmar, I guess, through, make the council happy what they wanted to see in it. They had a list of things they wanted to see in the mural, and I tried to just combine all these ideas into one somewhat of a very long mural, because creating for vertical long murals like that, it's almost like a timeline because it's just a long wall.
Yeah.
And when we first started it, we were just in the process of talking about what we wanted to see in the mural, and also just the fact that I was still working at the time, so I was just, be mindful that I am still a full-time worker, and this is my first project, and I want to obviously make you guys very happy, so bear with me. Like, I'm learning new techniques and stuff like that, using digital art to speed up the process of me designing this, because I'm usually a traditional artist, so I just usually pen and pencil or canvas to paint, so I had just never worked digitally before, and that was my learning of the point where I had to really sit and actually learn how to use this.
I want to point out that it's important that you had Levi there, because I've been in situations where I take on a little more than I can chew, and there's always somebody that I have to call and be like, like in front of everybody else. You're like, good. Yeah, it
was very important
you go home
to have
and
someone who's in the same boat or done this before, because a lot of the muralists I know, I don't think they ever got an opportunity to do a wall this huge for the city, itself. So I was just always constantly, hey, dude, I need you to double check my stuff, because I'm kind of worried I'm either, I'm not doing the correct amount of paint, or, I'm not,
Yeah, because you have to budget.
We have to budget, and we have to expect things to happen, and
project how much paint you're going to use,
and luckily,
all the different colors.
Helping out on his project from the previous year, kind of already had an idea that we had things have happened.
You were
and,
like,
you know,
just give me a lot of orange and a lot of green.
it's a lot of paint, I can tell you, and it was ridiculous how many colors I had on that palette. So, and you kind of learn from that, you know, like maybe that's not a good idea to do 32 colors on a mural that big, you know. So it's just like mindful little things that you gotta take you know, apart that, you know, like beginners all deal with, you know. How much are you putting out? Is it too much? Is it, you know, are you going a little bit too overboard? But it's like, I don't know, when are you going to get a wall that big ever again, you know? And I wanted to, like, at the time I was dealing with a lot of personal health. So I was like, this might be my last mural. So I was just kind of really focusing on just, like, giving them a good show, I guess.
Yeah, I did want to ask you that, too, because I do remember that you got pretty sick during that time. And that was when you were doing that mural? Wow.
It was, I can tell you that how difficult up top of the mural design itself and just dealing with meetings, still working and dealing with my health problems at the time. It was like, it was going to be a train wreck in the end. I was just kind of waiting on something happening. So the thing that happened was that at the time when I was working at this company called Scenario, which they do kind of like rock work and designing for theme parks. I was working them at the Universal Studios for Mario Land. And I was starting to get sicker. I mean, throughout the years I had already been sick, but it was just very minimal symptoms and they were already spread out.
What was it?
What was I diagnosed in? I had what they call a pheochromocytoma. So it's pretty much a tumor was growing inside my adrenal gland on my kidney.
Wow.
And it's a pretty rare tumor. At least the doctors they all let me know how rare it is. That you know, first of all, I didn't stroke out from all that, but also just how, I don't know how deep we want to get into the topic of like how sometimes a lot of doctors could gaslight you on your symptoms. So when I was working for Scenario, I was sick. And I was just like, what the heck is wrong with me? Like, I keep having these crazy headaches, and my heart was racing, like palpitation. Well, they call it hypertension, palpitation, or something like that. And but these were getting like worse coming weeks. So I started working there. Like, you know, the doctor's like, these symptoms are kind of like almost exaggerated. Is it not because you're stressed out a bit from starting a new job? And I'm just like, you're right. I mean, I did start a new job. I left my job for 15 years to go to this job. And I was just like, you know, you want to be the good first day and stuff like that. You want to, you know, show your skills and do 100%. And, you know.
You've always been competitive.
Yeah, I've always been kind of competitive with sports, art, having a twin sister who's just as good as you. You know, you're a very competitive person. So me coming in with my, you know, no scenic knowledge, and I got hired, and you know, I was just expecting to be like, you know, doing crazy stuff for this job, and I wanted to give the 100%, you know, 10%, and show them that I wanted to be there permanently and have a stable job. And they let me go like in December because of just not enough work. Not their fault. I think it's a usual thing that happens. But
December is always a slow month for
me being
any entertainment industry.
Yeah, during the Christmas, like holiday is when they start, you know, shipping people away. So obviously, being I think one of the last hirees from there, I was the first couple of people to go. So it wasn't just me, but I was almost just kind of grateful because at the time I was starting to get these symptoms a lot more progressively worse as the month went on. And me being so smart to think about not just rolling over my insurance at the time to just keep going to Kaiser, I ended up starting a new. So I had to I had to get a new primary care doctor. And this was like the worst time, of course, when you need the doctors is when I had to go through all those loopholes of trying to find a doctor. And I did, and a lot of times they were just like, you know, these symptoms, are you sure, you know, not over-exaggerating? They don't get a lot of weirdos like me coming in, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when I first came into the doctor's office for this, I explained to them, as I'm just going to explain to every person I've ever talked to about it. They're asking, you sit down with them and you're asking, like, what's wrong? What's happening with you? I'm like, well, first thing, I have these heart palpitations that hit me like when I'm sleeping sometimes. They're like, they're conscious. Okay, well, are you doing drugs? And I'm like, why is that the first thing you go to?
Yeah.
It's just because the way I look, tattoos, or, just, I don't know. So I was just like, okay, well, no, I don't do drugs. Because, he kept insinuating it because the way that my symptoms were was
Jesus.
when I had heart palpitations, it would just feel like I'm running. Like I just gotten done racing. I needed that complete stop, and I'm just taking it in, but I could just be sleeping. It would happen like at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Wow.
So I would just be laying down. All of a sudden, I'll be woken up by my own heart rate picking up.
Yeah.
And I would just kind of get up and try to do some breathing technique to help, I don't know, calm me down. Like, like you're pregnant or something. Like, you just breathe in, breathe out, breathe out. But then the thing that happened like in 2017 was that I had my first headache. That was scary.
Yeah.
If I knew then what I knew now, I would have just told them straight up, all these symptoms seem to be all connected to the same problem, but each time I went to the doctors throughout those years was for separate things. So when I had my heart palpitations, I would go to a cardio doctor, and they would put an EGK machine on me, and they would check my heart rate, and they're like, let's put this monitor on you for a week and see how that goes, and all the results come out normal. Is very discouraging to hear, because it's almost like those feelings don't really not matter, but are not real unless they see it on that little monitor they put on me. So a lot of times I was just kind of like always kind of advocating to sort of push for more answers, because the heart rate thing wasn't the only thing that was wrong with me. I also had this situations where I'd be working at work, and all of a sudden my face will go completely pale.
Wow.
Like if I'm about to pass out, and I had a few coworkers just, their eyes widen, and they're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? You want to sit down?" I'm just like, "What's wrong?" And they're like, "Look at you. Like, go in the bathroom and look at you." And I looked at myself, and I'm like, "Whoa, I look like I'm dying." And I'm like, "Is this normal?" And then I would just profusely sweat.
Yeah.
If I'm about to pass out, and I'm just like, "Oh man, I feel like I'm about to pass out." And I'm like, is it because I haven't eaten anything this morning? Or, you start to question.
You're trying to figure it out.
You're trying to figure it out yourself. But, and then it will go away like nothing. So it was just like very quick.
And then you go to the doctor, and you can't show them anything because...
No, I couldn't show them anything, because unless it happened at that moment, no one's recording me. No one's taking pictures of me. And most of the time when this would happen would be like late at night, or when I'm doing something very physical at the time. And, that was the hard part, was trying to convince these doctors that these symptoms were real. And though I can't show you at the moment we're in the hospital or in the doctor's room, but it was very annoying.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of doctors.
Frustrating. Very
frustrating, because on top of just being stressed about what's happening with you, I was stressed out with work.
Yeah.
I was, getting late to work because I would drive, and I would have one of these headaches come on. And the best way I can describe this headache is your vision starts to get a little blurry, and then I start to see like glistens of light.
Wow.
And then you feel like you see a big ray of like brightness, whiteness.
Wow.
And that's the point where you kind of feel like you're gonna either pass out or something. So when I would drive to work, I would have this happen to me, and it happened several times when I was driving. Very scary when you're on the freeway, like 5 a.m, and all of a sudden your heart rate's picking up, and next thing you know, your vision is just...
How did they finally take care of all this?
By accident.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff was not found on those first couple meetings at the doctor. So when I started to do this whole thing was like in October of like 2021. And so I finally got my primary care doctor taken care of. And after he kind of just like, well, let's try to figure it out. Did blood work. He sent me to two different other doctors, a neurological doctor and a cardio doctor. And well, after the first results came back for cardio with no signs of, I'm not exactly sure what they were looking for, but I guess the signs of me having these heart palpitations. I saw my neurological doctor and she did a bunch of tests on me. And which is funny because I did have one of those episodes, I call them episodes for me, one of those headache episodes happened in her office. And
wow.
Yeah, so it was because she was hooking me up with these pads that give you a slight shock of electricity to check your nerves to see how they fluctuate, I guess. So she's explained to me, and, I just got off to one doctor, and I jumped to one doctor. This is all one day. So I went to her doctor appointment first before I went to my cardio. And she was like, yeah, she's explained to me what she's going to do. She's doing it. So I'm already nervous. I'm not much of a hospital person, especially with all the situations that I've dealt with. So I was just like, okay. She goes, well, I'm just going to shoot you with a little electricity on each arm. And I'm like, okay. Sounds easy, right? So she starts doing, I'm like, oh man, I feel like weird. I feel tingly sensation throughout my whole body, and I feel like I'm gonna pass out. My heart starts racing. I'm like, oh great. So my heart starts racing, and I'm like, oh shit, man, I told her, I'm gonna probably throw up right now. She goes, really? She goes, you don't look. I'm like, I'm not. Can you give me something? I like vomited in her office, and she came running with her salt water and tried to give me water. And she goes, oh my God, it sounds like, it looks like you just had a migraine headache. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, that was pretty crazy. Like, and you saw everything, like. And she goes, no, I've seen a lot of people have symptoms similar to yours. Like another symptoms of gaslighting. It's just trying to like pinpoint on what was wrong with me. And so I was just like, I don't think so. I'm like, I feel like, I don't know, like, this is not the right answer.
Yeah.
She goes, but I still have to finish the testing. She just hit me with acupuncture on my neck to see how my nerves on my neck are doing. So it's like pain on top of pain, and then that happened, and then sticking me up with these needles, and I was just not having a good time. And in the end of all that, she just kind of noticed that the left side of my body was neurons were a little bit weaker than the right. Kept asking her, what do I do for work? And I'm like, well, I paint. I work for a scenic company. Try to switch hands and do this, do that. And what we can do for your migraine headaches is hit you up with some Botox. Like Botox. And me, I am like shoot me up with anything. I don't do flu shots. I don't do any of those shot things. Yeah. So when I heard that, I was like, oh man, Botox.
Yeah.
Botox, the things you put on people's faces.
Where are you going to put wrinkles. It? Yeah.
And I'm like, where? She goes, well, we'll shoot you up on your neck, on your forehead. She's like, oh, just a couple of little dots here, and then on your forehead. I'm just like, oh no. I'm like, I'm not doing Botox. She goes, but you'll feel much better. We have a high rate of, you start telling me the percentage. And I'm like, it's not that. I said, you're just going so invasive so quickly. I can't handle it at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me some migraine medicine that's a little bit more higher in prescription. Turned out, in the end, all that medicine was really worth for nothing. I was just messing up my liver more, taking all those pills that weren't actually doing anything for any of the symptoms. For a bit, I think mentally, I thought it was doing something, but I think for a week I had no headache. And I remember I went to Levi's house to go start breaking down the colors for this mural, and I was like, man, I actually kind of feel kind of good today, And then I went over, I was like, as soon as we started doing like noises and stuff, my symptoms of everything was coming back, and I was just so discouraged.
Yeah.
Thinking that the medicine was gonna like save my headaches. So about October, up until I got laid off, I was having headaches every day.
Damn.
And since these were stroke-like headaches, I felt like every time I would get to a point where I feel like I was gonna stroke out was when it would stop. So over the time, I started kind of noticing my left side of my face kind of drooping. And I was like, nah, I was trying to tell the doctors, I'm like, these are like strokes. Like, these headaches are really bad. Like, I feel like to a point where I think I would black out if I don't know, if whatever in my system would just stop it. But there are some points where the heart rate would roll down, and it would just be like very struggling to keep up. And yeah, it was really bad.
Wow. So you went through all that, and then you still continued making the mural.
I had a freaking contract, so we had to get this mural done.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really hard to, I guess, be 100% in when there was so much stuff happening at the time.
Yeah.
Just lost my job. I'm really sick. This mural has to be done. And I was just stressing.
Yeah.
Like, if I wasn't stressing before, I was stressing now. So I was just trying to, I don't know, push these doctors for an answer so I can tell people what's wrong with me. Because at the time, all I had was my heart just races and I sweat randomly, and I had these stroke-like headaches randomly, and they all happened at once. The newer symptom that happened was that when I started to actually vomit every time all these headaches would happen.
Wow.
So after that happened, I noticed that vomiting would happen every time that every symptom would hit me all at once. So it was 3 symptoms at once: heart race, headache, and then vomiting. So I lost a lot of weight for, I don't know, two months. I think December of that year was the hardest because kind of like I just stopped eating food. I just kind of started asking my mom for help to help like blend up my food so I can drink it, just because vomiting was so painful.
Yeah.
And also because I wasn't keeping anything down, and it was pretty bad. And when I finally went to go see my gastrological doctor, well, because the story goes, when I went to the doctors to finally get some answers, I might have seen my primary care doctor like 3 or 4 times already. And he's like, well, how did the doctor's appointment go with your neurological doctor? I told him what happened. How did your cardio doctor tell you? What did he tell you? I'm like, there's no, I guess, proof of these crazy hypertension irregularities of what can cause this, that they didn't see any, like, kind of like a purpose
pattern,
like a pattern to be like, hey, you know what, you have a heart problem or something.
Yeah, they couldn't name it.
They couldn't really put a thing that was wrong with it. They just noticed that my heart had a irregular heartbeat sometimes. And as I'm telling him all this stuff, he's like, well, I got your blood work back. And I'm thinking, oh, great, I have some answers. Well, it's not relating to any of your symptoms, technically. I'm like, okay, great. I'm like, now what is he going to tell me? Something else is wrong with me. And he goes, well, we noticed a lot of cholesterol in your bloodstream, and it's kind of indicating that you have a fatty liver. I'm like, great. Now you're telling me I'm fat. I'm just telling you, like, I'm just like, I don't know what to tell him. Like, I feel like that's not even it either. But I'm like, well, since we're doing all these crazy tests and stuff all of a sudden, like, might as well just put this on my list of things to do. So I was just seeking for answers after those 2 doctors practically told me there was something wrong with me, and besides me telling me to lose weight, made me stop drinking alcohol and stop being stressed out. I was kind of like, well, let's go see what this fatty liver thing. I don't think it has anything to do with my symptoms, but let's just go for it. He goes, well, we got to do an ultrasound on your liver. I'm like, okay, let's go. So he sets me up for an appointment, and this dude comes, and, you'll expect a good, nice dude to come up and explain to you what he's going to be doing. And, I'm already nervous being in there because it's just the atmosphere is always so clinical. So it's very depressing.
Yeah.
It's already bad that all this stuff's happening to me, but on top of now finding out that I may have a fatty liver, it was just like, great. What else could be wrong with me? Yeah. So while he's doing this ultrasound, he decides to I don't know. I feel like he's adventuring out to different places, but he's like applying a lot of force into it, and I'm just like, it kind of hurts. Like why are you putting so much pressure up my ribs when you're supposed to be doing my liver? And well, technically it's in there too, but the way he was doing it was just very aggressive and painful at the same time. And he wasn't saying anything, which is always a red flag for someone who doesn't talk to you, someone who's looking at doesn't face the camera, of what he's doing towards you. So you can't really ask him what that is or what that is. So he kept pretty quiet. And after he was done, he just said, "Oh, your doctor's going to talk to you." And I'm like, okay. And then you get that weird empty feeling when you drive home. Like, he saw something. He had to see something. Like, he couldn't just tell me straight up I had a fatty liver there in the bed. I was like, whatever. I'll just wait for to have another doctor's appointment for him to tell me that, I do. So I go, and, I think nothing of it. I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to have a fatty liver. I'm in pretty good shape. I thought I was in pretty good like health and stuff like that, besides all this other health stuff happening to me. And, I go, hey, I never got the results from can I make an appointment with you? Can we talk about it? So he comes in, he's, acting very weird, and that's already a bad vibe already. So he's like, I gotta tell you something. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, what is it? He goes, when they did your ultrasound, they saw a big mass in your liver. He's just talking. I'm just like,
wow.
Everything is just coming in one ear, not the other. I'm just like, he goes, now we gotta do this and this and this. I'm just like, he goes, how do you feel? I'm like, that was a really hard drive home.
Yeah. By yourself? Yeah.
Told you I was gonna cry.
It's okay. Take your time.
I was just thinking about how I was gonna tell my parents.
Because you thought that was it.
Not that. I wasn't expecting that kind of reply.
But I mean, you thought that was going to be the end of you.
Oh, I don't know, because when I was just listening to everything he was saying, just take care of your liver and stop drinking alcohol and doing all this stuff, and I'm just like, I was already doing that, but it's just harder to hear it, and then driving home with all that information.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really difficult. And then the first person I saw was my dad. I just broke down. I was just going to expect him to say, oh, there's no fatty liver, or nothing like that. So then he explained to me that I have to go to UCLA to get this crazy MRI done to kind of just verify that the word is, what's up with the liver now. So I'm telling my parents what's happening, and I get the cats out of the bag of how bad this is, So I was explaining to them that they might have to do a liver transplant, depending how big this liver is, and they said big mass, so that sounds pretty bad. They didn't really have at the time an actual measurement. That's what that MRI was for UCLA. So. That was a pretty crazy MRI.
Yeah.
So they pretty much inject you with this radioactive liquid that helps your tumors or any cancerous material go up when you go on through the X-ray.
Be visible, yeah.
And an expensive one too.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very expensive and a very crazy injection, and it was just so traumatizing at the same time. Because then, they get you hyped up thinking that this is a hemochromatoma, and next thing you know, when you get out of MRI results, they're like, oh, no, wait, it's actually in your adrenal gland. And they're like, and it's also 6 centimeters big. And I'm like, that's pretty big.
That's pretty big.
And so I was just taking all this information at the time, and here I am trying to finish this mural project. And that was like January, February when I found out.
That's crazy, just to think, that you still have to go back and, draw lines, and paint.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was kind of like that, but not at the same time. It was just, there were so many things happening in those couple of months that I was just to finalize the design, the paint, the colors, and making sure we have our team together. Because it wasn't just me painting, you know, I had a team of very close friends helping me on this project, and I can't even thank them enough for helping me on this project because, you know, I know sometimes like these big projects don't really pay much, you know, but none of us really get that big of opportunity to work on a wall that big in our own hometown. So I can't even thank them enough. They're really like solid people that I picked for this team, and they're my friends that I grew up painting murals with. So I couldn't pick a beher team to help me out.
That's also something else to keep in mind always is that, like, there's probably, like, a big number at the bottom of that contract that they're giving you, but a lot of that money goes into paint. It goes into paying other people. It goes into other stuff. So
that just to have that mural done is so expensive because it's right by the railroad tracks. So we actually had to work with Metro.
Wow.
And that makes permits, which makes more money to get a flagger to flag the trains on when they come through. And we all had to get a lot of training to be someone that could be by the tracks on the Metro. It was kind of like, because we weren't even like touching the track that close, but it was just enough space where...
Just a safety measure,
a liability. They want to make sure that we're covered, that we know the rules of the railroad tracks and everything.
So this was 2021 when you were sick, right? As I remember, it was in the middle of the pandemic type stuff,
It was like the worst time to be sick, too.
Yeah. And then I finally saw you again, like when people were out and about again. And you were out here.
Yeah.
At Espacio.
They had an art show here.
Yeah, you came over here for something. Yeah.
They had an art show here. I think it was... I can't remember the art show, but I think I read into your boothing, right? You were having your prints and stuff. Yeah, and I hadn't seen you.
No, we hadn't seen each other in a long time.
A couple of years.
But I had been following your mural progress, and you did tell me, like, I almost died. I'll tell you later.
Not the best way to say it. I know, but I feel like over the time of talking about what happened with me, it's just... with comedy, it kind of helps out a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
So making it funny doesn't make it as bad to explain it like right now. But it was pretty crazy. Yeah,
it's definitely
all by accident too, because I don't know how long before they would have really figured out what was wrong with me if I didn't have that random MRI. High cholesterol, blood work come in that kind of followed through with the ultrasound and then seeing the mass, getting it. Finally getting the medication that I needed because apparently I had been shooting my liver up with a lot of drugs
so you're making it worse instead of better.
That weren't even connected to any of the problems I had.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was really bad. I also was getting symptoms from all these pills that I was taking. So
of course.
Yeah, I was getting like these weird tingling sensation on my fingers when I would paint. When they finally figured out my magical cocktail of medicine I needed, that helped out so much. I think January was probably the first time in like 6 months I didn't have a headache, or I didn't throw up, or I didn't have this heart palpitation happening. Like a relief. And now I felt like I was able to do stuff because at one point I told the crew that I think I wasn't going to be able to do this mural after 2 years of planning.
Yeah, wow. How long did the whole thing take?
15 days to paint.
So 2 years of planning, 15 days to paint.
We only had about a few weeks to do this. We had about a month to do this because...
Permits and
also just that wall that was being painted was tagged on a lot. So it had years of like buildup of just
they had to clean it.
So we had to power wash it. We had to paint it. And then we still had to pounce all of the image onto there. Since we weren't going to project it, it was just too big of an image to try to project it. And then also just having a flagger there to project the image, it was going to cost way too much money. So we had to have strategically just kind of structure it like the same way we did the other project with Levi, and then kind of work it into this project too. And it worked out great. We finished. We probably would have finished even sooner if one of those days were call out for rain. So. But, it was...
And now how busy is your schedule?
Since then, I mean, after I took a year hiatus of just kind of recovering and just mentally like kind of healing about, all the shit that I went through, I tried to keep myself busy by just keep pushing for like more art related stuff. So obviously I try to get into like pop-ups, I try to get into art gallery shows. But recently I've been helping out a lot of friends with their mural projects, which kind of hand in hand helps me out with my mural projects. So I don't know. I actually don't really have to stay too busy because people keep me busy.
Yeah.
So because I have, once I start a project, I have someone within that one project have something else to do. And it kind of
That was the one thing that you painted for your kitchen that I totally loved.
You should have told me I would have brought you a print.
It's a beautiful piece.
Thank you. It was a very funny story to that, too. So it's supposed to be a take, obviously, from Da Vinci's, I think it's called The Finger Touching Adam.
Yeah. The Something of Man.
Adam, something like that. Anyway, so it was a joke. We had been kind of fixing up the kitchen in our house, and years ago, my parents pulled off this like cabinet piece, and underneath it had nothing on it. So it was like, obviously the cabinets back then are just particle board with the fake wood on top. So I told my dad, "Why don't you just paint it?" He goes, "What am I gonna paint it? It's gonna look weird because everything's wood and it's gonna be just a solid color paint." He goes, "Well, artist, why don't you paint something?" And I'm like,
Okay.
"What am I, Da Vinci?" And I was like, he goes, that's actual real art. And I'm like, oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we started like,
That's
I see
good.
how that is. Because, he's like, all you guys do is paint skeletons and,
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And that's
fine
text.
then.
Yeah.
So I told him that I would paint something. And but he's like, "You're going to paint it right now?" I'm like, "No, like, you got to make me at least a piece of board to do it on, because I'm not going to be out there like Da Vinci painting above the
On a
stove."
ladder.
So it took me a while to really get an idea of what I wanted to paint for that one. But it's the cooking station. My mom and my dad we all cook in that little area. So I thought it would be pretty funny to take that little Da Vinci and kind of give it like a little bit of a twist to it.
I'll put a little.
The tortilla and la limon.
I'll put it up here so people can see it.
It was actually, I think around Christmas time I think that's why it gave me that posada kind of feel, because we're passing the tortillas and the lamb or or something like that. But I think it was during December when we were joking around about that. Yeah. And then it kind of spewed on because I had so many projects, but I was working on it. And then, I don't know, I slapped some gold leaf on it. It looked really great. So, yeah, I wanted to give it that, like that museum feel to it. Because obviously none of my artwork's like that. Yeah. Most of it's pretty crazy.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, we've gone through your whole life and come up to now. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to mention before we end?
That I'm doing great. I have a lot of friends that, I kind of not stopped talking to, but I kind of blacked out a little bit when all my symptoms were happening and when I was sick and after surgery and stuff. And I also been just keeping really busy, but I want to let everybody know I'm doing better. It took a while to just mentally get better, and I'm doing sports again. Yeah, I'm playing soccer on a co-ed team. I've been running.
That's awesome.
So I've been trying to going back to what I kind of missed out in those years. Yeah. And why I think back of all those years that I have issues with my health was because of this tumor that was growing in me. So I felt like I lost a lot of years after high school to be able to do what I actually wanted to do with sports. Mm-hmm. But it kind of, in a way, like you said, kind of gifted in a way to turn the direction of doing art full time. And just recently, I just barely started doing art full time. So I've been pretty grateful that it's, in a weird way, if I didn't have the surgery, it didn't give me the chance to get fired from my job and then forced to just, really put 100% of my artwork at that time.
It's weird, but as humans, we just keep moving forward. Just like a plant continues to grow and, think water continues to flow, we continue to move forward no matter, what happens. And so, you just have to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, just because I haven't seen a lot of my friends, especially from LA, because that time I saw you was probably, a very long time.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time I see someone, I have to tell them what happened. Because I feel like a lot of people in their own way kind of deal with that.
Yeah.
hiding their health situation behind closed doors. And I did that for a long time, and it took me a long time to advocate for myself. And I hope that if anybody hears this story and finds some similarities to it, kind of go to the doctors and really push for that extra test that may not even amount to anything, but at least give you like a clear mind of like, hey, at least it's not this. But my case is kind of different. But I've had a lot of people hit me up about that.
Yeah.
Also, if you have a lot of pains, you should go see a chiropractor too. Because sometimes chiropractors do a lot of different things that doctors can't give you in a pill,
Or a sobadora.
Oh, bruja,
Do you have a website people can come look at your stuff?
I don't have a website yet. I'm working on it.
So we'll just put your Instagram up here.
Yeah, just on Zomni-Art.
Insomni-Art, yeah. Well, we have a question that we ask everybody at the end of each podcast.
Oh, yeah?
And we only ask that you try to answer the question in one sentence.
Oh, man.
It's a very vague question, so feel free to answer vaguely.
Okay.
But if a being from another planet or another realm stood in front of you one day and was able to see your whole life, everything that you've been through, everything that you've done, everything that you've accomplished, and everything that you felt, and they just look at you and they say, Erica, friend, how do you do it? How would you reply in one sentence?
That's a good question. I guess it would just be the determination to keep bettering yourself and pushing to advocate for yourself more.
The determination to keep bettering yourself.
And also just say
it.
And just say fuck it,
There you go.
From I learned from this whole experience of almost practically dying and almost stroking out almost constantly. I got into the term of just fuck it, just do it. What do you have to lose type of, not like the YOLO of the day, but it's
just say fuck it.
Fuck it, just
make
do
it simple.
Yeah.
Just say fuck it.
Just say fuck it.
Thank you so much for traveling down here and seeing us. Really appreciate your time and your stories.
Thank you for having me. It's my second type of podcast, so it's pretty cool.
We'll see you guys next week.